motherfucking sense, aka the soul of Andromeda, the night of Venus. In the current time of this video, we're going through a Virgo stellium. So I want to talk about everything that comes with a Virgo stellium. More specifically, I want to talk about the things that we should be aware of right now when it comes to this Virgo stellium. But I also want to talk about just how that energy is expressed in general, whether it be in your transit chart or in your natal chart, But without further ado, let's just jump right into it. Whenever we have a stellium, that's when a sign or a house has 3 or more planets, okay? So if you have 3 or more planets in your first house, you have a stellium in the first house. If you have 3 or more planets in Pisces in your birth chart, you have a stellium in Pisces. Or how right now, when it's not necessarily you in your birth chart, but it's the planets in the sky that we're all experiencing right now. The transit, the current alignments. If there's 3 or more planets in the current sign, then that's the transit stellium. You get what I'm saying? But yeah, let me keep going before I start rambling and shit. So yeah, anytime you have that much energy focused on one sign or one house, how that ends up manifesting is someone who has a whole lot of focus and attention and awareness for a particular aspect of their life or for a particular energy that they might portray. You see what I'm saying? So for example, with a stellium in Virgo, people have a tendency to be more focused on the things that Virgo focuses on. People are more aware of the Virgo energy. You see what I'm saying? Now, Virgo. What does Virgo represent? Virgo is the Virgin. And the Virgin is all about purity, clarity, cleanliness. They say cleanliness is next to godliness. What a lot of people don't know is that esoterically, what they're talking about is the Virgo energy. Now, we're not talking about literally being a virgin and abstaining from sex, because if that was the case, none of us would be here right now. You understand? So it's not necessarily about just abstaining from sex per se, but it's more so about keeping things pure, keeping things from getting untainted or tampered with from external sources. Okay? Virgo is all about bringing order to things, putting things in the right places, putting the energy in the right places, categorizing things, organizing things, structuring things, creating routines, creating patterns, creating systems around things to find out what best works, what has the most effectiveness, what has the ability to serve everyone, what has the ability to serve the most at the very least. This is all things that deal with Virgo energy. Now, when there's a stellium there is a fixation towards these things, almost like a sense of trying to be a perfectionist. Now, see, that's the thing too that Virgo also represents. Perfecting things. And that's one thing that Virgos have a problem with, is sometimes being too much of a perfectionist. And the way that you can see someone as being a perfectionist is when they're being a control freak. And that's bringing me down to what's going on today. All right. That's for the general aspects of Virgo. Now, talking about the stellium, right? Whenever there's a stellium in this, you will 9 times out of 10 be a control freak in some way, shape, or form. You know, you will experience the tendency to be a perfectionist in certain areas of your life whenever you have a stellium in Virgo. Now, the thing about that is, whether it's happening in your birth chart or it's happening just transitly speaking, there is actually no escaping this 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 pre this there's no escaping this inclination of trying to perfect everything. You know, like, it'll be okay if maybe you had one planet in Virgo or two, but the moment you have three or more, aka a stellium in Virgo, you're almost destined to be a perfectionist or to be a control freak. So that being said, that can give you a new perspective of how to look at things. One way to look at it is, okay, now you don't have to be so hard on yourself or others. You know, you don't have to be so judgmental. That's another thing that Virgo represents, is being judgmental. You know, leading into that 6th house, going into the 7th house of Libra, coming from the area of organization, structuring into the area of relationships and people. What does that represent? The judge, judging people and putting people in their right places, putting people in their proper position, whether it be in your life or in society as the judge, right? Sending people to jail if they belong the zone. Sending people to jail if they deserve to be in jail, or sending people to whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the judge, okay? Anyway, that's one of the things that Virgo also represents. And when you know that you have the tendency to be a perfectionist, whenever there's a stellium in Virgo, now you don't have to judge yourself so harsh. You know what I'm saying? Now you know that this is just part of the energies that we're working with, or that you're working with. Okay? We're getting even deeper beyond that. Because you know that this is inevitable. It's inevitable for you to be a perfectionist right now. It's inevitable for you to be critical right now. You don't have to judge yourself when you get in that aspect, when you get in those mental states. But even more so, it's not about what we do, it's about how we do things. You see what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, we're all technically doing the same shit. It just comes down to how you do it, you know? We all have the same 24 hours in a day. We all have the same planetary alignments. We all have the same energies that we're working with. It's just about whether or not you choose to work with it in this aspect, or you choose to work with it in that aspect. And that brings us to this idea of polarity. Everything is polar. Everything has both light and dark. Everything has a positive and a negative way to go about things. So when we're talking about a Virgo stellium, there is a right way and a wrong way to be a perfectionist. And I don't even want to say right and wrong, you know, because that's subjective. But there is a lighter way and there is a heavier way to be a perfectionist, to be a control freak. Okay? So let's get down into it. The stellium of today specifically. We have the sun, the moon, and Mercury all in Virgo. So that basically means sun, our actions, moon, our reactions, and Mercury, our thoughts and communications, are all in Virgo, the area of work, service, perfecting things, organizing things. So right now, with this stellium of the sun, moon, and Mercury in Virgo, we should be focused on acting and reacting, as well as communicating and thinking about things that deal with perfecting, structuring, organizing things. Okay? Now, if you are on the right side of things, and what do I mean by that? If you are trying to manifest a particular goal and you feel as though you are closer to that goal, then if you are closer to that goal than you are far from it, right? Then that means you're on the right side of things. Versus if you're further away from that goal than you want to be, you're on the wrong side of things, for the sake of this conversation. So if you're on the right side of things, if you're close to getting your goals right now, this is the time to refrain from being such a perfectionist. You know, another thing that Virgo represents is worry, anxiety. And if you are getting close to manifesting, if you're close to getting the things that you want right now, you're close to manifesting your dreams, then understand that right now with this Virgo stellium, you might have more emotions of anxiety, more emotions of stress, you know? And a lot of people who are successful might already understand this. Not everyone is meant to be so extremely successful, because with success comes anxiety. You know, there is a certain amount of pressure and stress that's being placed on a person who has succeeded so much, because now they have to continue to outdo themselves. Now they have to continue to outdo everyone else's expectations. See what I'm saying? So if you're someone who is already in that realm, in that field of success, you might feel more feelings of anxiety. And what I'm saying right now is, one, don't judge yourself when you feel those emotions. But two, the way you can get yourself out of that emotion is by not thinking so hard about shit. You know, Virgo, which is ruled by Mercury, has a tendency to overthink. You know, that's how they end up getting into this idea of perfecting things. The ironic part about this is Mercury is in Virgo right now and it's in retrograde. So by default, you might have the tendency to overthink about things. But with all this other shit going on too, with Virgo and this stellium going on, and with you feeling like as though you're already close to getting your goals, these anxieties might come from places of feeling like you're doing too much. It might feel as though you need to fix this and you need to fix that before you hit the stage, because you're about to hit the stage and you want to feel as though when you hit the stage, you want to fall on stage and not know what to do. So you want to make sure everything is clean on stage before you go on stage, if that makes sense. And right now, what I'm trying to say is, don't worry about that. This is the time where it's cool to just relax, just fall back and let things go. Let things be the way they are. The fact that you're even experiencing success right now and so much Virgo energy lets you know that things are working for you. Keyword, things are working for you. So that lets you know that all this added anxiety and stress is not needed. Everything's already working. You see what I'm saying? That's just you getting into your head, overthinking about shit, trying too hard to be a perfectionist. Okay? So that's the heavier aspect of it. And another insight about that is, the way to get out of that is to understand again the virgin energy, purity, clarity, cleansing. So if you are starting to feel the pressures of success and the stress of succeeding and overthinking about these things, right now, you need to start meditating. Right now, you need to start cleansing your mind, cleansing your thoughts, because you have too many thoughts right now. So this is the time to create some type of ritual, some type of routine. Keyword, Virgo shit. This is the time to create some type of routine which allows you to cleanse your mind, cleanse your thoughts. You understand? To get back to that virgin energy, that sense of clarity and purity, where there are no outside things coming to fuck with this shit. You understand? So start to clear your thoughts from those external thoughts. Those are other people's thoughts that you're hearing in your head right now. Those are other people's emotions that you're feeling right now. And they're getting into your system, fucking up your shit. So with this Virgo stellium, the world is trying to remind you to cleanse yourself of these energies that are not yours. Right? That's if you're on a lighter aspect of things. I know that was the heavier explanation, but that's if you're on the lighter aspect of things, aka that's if you're actually getting close to your goals. But let's say you're on the other side. Let's say you're further from your goals than you want to be. How can we use this Virgo stellium to get us closer? How can we use the idea of perfectionism and being a control freak to get us closer to where we want to be? You have to be a perfectionist in your craft, in your skills. You have to be a perfectionist in the way that you serve others. As I've already mentioned, Virgo represents work. Work also is synonymous with service, which is another thing that Virgo, as well as the sixth house, represents. Service, acts of service, how you serve the world, how you give yourself to others. So with that being said, you can use your tendency to be a perfectionist right now to perfect the way that you serve. You know, use this perfectionist energy to your benefit. Don't try and be a perfectionist and try and control everyone else. Don't be such a control freak that you're trying to control how everyone else is doing shit. Because you never will have complete control over anyone other than yourself. So focus there. Focus on everything that you have control over. And how can you better your control? How can you gain better control over these things? Okay? So, Virgo, the sign of perfecting, the sign of overthinking. Well, if you overthink about perfecting, that just means you plan a lot. And if you're on the wrong side of things right now and you want to get closer to your goals, you can use this Virgo stellium to plan better, create better strategic thought processes. You understand? There's this saying, and it's the 6 P's. Makes sense because Virgo is the 6th house, right? The 6th sign. Proper planning prevents piss poor performance. You understand? Proper planning prevents piss poor performance. So that lets you know how this perfectionist energy can work for you. You know? Plan ahead. Plan wherever you can. Plan things out before you just go and do things without forethought. See what I'm saying? But one thing to know too when it comes to proper planning is that you can't plan for everything because some things are unforeseen. So the best thing you can do is to plan for unforeseen events and to plan to be unprepared. You see what I'm trying to say? Like, that's the best way you can stay prepared for unprepared situations. Like that's the best way you can stay on 10 toes. Prepared to be unprepared. That's one aspect. And you do that by understanding that you will never be fully prepared. So do everything that you can and keep going with that. All right, that's the second aspect. Another thing, Virgo being ruled by Mercury. Mercury is all about language, thoughts, communication. And Virgo being the perfectionist, right now this would be a good time to perfect the way you speak, perfect the way you communicate, perfect the way you express your thoughts, whether it be with yourself or with others. Perfect the way you speak to yourself. You probably have too many negative words in your vocabulary. You probably speak with too much anxiety. Again, Virgo. You probably speak with too much worry. Again, Virgo. So perfect the way you speak. Change the way you speak. Start finding ways and where you can find the words to work for you instead of having words work against you. Stop saying I can't. Stop saying, things of failure. Stop. Just stop. Start adding more speech and thoughts and emotion of optimism into your vocabulary. You understand? Another thing, routines, rituals. There's probably something in your routine that you've been slacking on right now. This is the perfect time to get back on that horse. Get back to setting shit up the way you want it to be. Get back on your routine. Get back to waking up at the time you want to wake up. Get back to eating at the specific time that you want to eat. Get back to setting these routines in your daily life to set you up for success. Get out of these routines that keep you in these routines of failure. Create better routines that work for you. And speaking of, health, that's another thing that Virgo represents is health. How you deal with health related matters. How you deal with injuries. How you deal with food. This might be a good time to change your diet. Start creating a better diet for you that works for you. Start getting into the gym right now. Start focusing on your health. Or even, again, mental health. Going back to the meditation and shit. Focus on your health, though, mentally and physically. Perfect that. Another thing, find better ways to be useful. When we're talking about things that work for us, we're talking about things that are useful to us. When we're talking about being a service to the community, you can't be a service to the community without first being useful to the community. So find better ways you can be useful. Where can you actually add your 2 cents? Where can you be more helpful? That's another aspect pay attention to right now. See what works and what doesn't work. And start to put more energy into those things that do work. And last but not least, when you're going through all of this, understand that there is no such thing as perfection. Perfecting is all about making something better, but it's not making something the best. There's no such thing as perfect, because once something is perfect, that means there's no more room for improvement. And if there's no more room for improvement, that means there's no more room to grow. And if you're not growing, that means you're not alive. The only proof of life is growth. You understand what I'm saying? So all of life is consistent growth, a consistent perfecting, getting to the next stage. But it's never about just ending and being completely done. Oh, I'm done. It's perfect. It's never that. You understand? So never seek perfection as something being obtainable. Understand that it's just an ideal to help us reach the next stage. But perfect doesn't exist. So long as you're alive, there's always room to grow. You understand? So, shout out to all the Virgos out there. Stop worrying about everything. Oh yeah, value your perspective.